Republican Party, state party elections, when Cliff Hurst, who was vice chair at the time, was a uniter and an organizer,
right,
a very successful fundraiser,
yeah,
wanted to run for chair, a henchman of the senator.
Know that.
We have all the facts.
Wow.
Went to see him and basically laid it on the line that if he ran, they would see that the money dried up, just like it did for Jack Kimball, and that they'd put out press releases suggesting he was senile to boot.
Oh, my God, are you serious?
I am serious.
Oh, my God.
I had strong words with the young man involved. It turns out that the young man has now separated himself from the AOT campaign because there were other things that were done since, which were the last straw for him, and has since apologized to Cliff. And in fact, they're both assisting on the same presidential campaign. So I'm going to leave the name of the young man out for the time being. We gave him.
You have to write it down for me.
We gave him a lot of grief when it happened, including in print. It's a there's a trend.
Yeah, that's how the business happens.
Of the office of the senator, maybe acting on the advice. What was it? Noxious fumes emanating from the cave of the gnome, as Radical Moderate wrote in one of his comments.
Does it ever get old? I mean, like what's going on with that? Can't we get beyond the man behind the mask?
I'm just testing to make sure it's still working.
That's not me, by the way.
I know it's not you. Yeah.
Your laugh's better than that.
So we are broadcasting now on Spreaker. My apologies. Everything worked great from 8:15 until 9 o'clock, when for some reason everything stopped working.
Okay.
The jingle box stopped working. The stream stopped working. I mean, it was all working. Everything was working.
Okay.
And I think what happened is my Flash player crashed and took everything with it.
Oh, my.
So,
there's a lot of stuff that depends on Flash player. That can happen.
Everything. This console, the Spreaker console that you can see in the camera, that relies on it. So we had a lot of things go wrong at once, but we're back on stream. But we had the live stream, the Ustream live stream working great. So
which means that our podcast chunks will be able to go out a little bit later.
And I have the recorded version over here as backup because these things happen.
Yes.
yes, they do.
All right. Well, we appear to be.
Live plus recording has been showing since a couple of minutes before 9 o'clock, so we are
definitely
good to go.
Good.
All right,
Sounds
what do we
good.
got? What do we got? Here we go. Okay.
So all that wonderful stuff that we were talking about with our president wasn't actually live on the air. Is that what you mean?
No. It was live on Ustream.
Okay.
It wasn't live on Spreaker.
Anybody listening to the Ustream, what do you mean feedback detected?
It's a good thing
Show
you guys
99, and we're still wrestling with the equipment, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Next week is show number 100. We have absolutely nothing special planned, but then we do this on a week-by-week basis, and who knows what could happen. I could have presidential primary candidates lined.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
100. So next
week is the
next
100th
Saturday?
program. Yes.
Well, Ted Cruz is going to be here too.
I know. I wanted to get a couple of folks on. And, the problem is they all have schedules, and they're all really wicked busy. And you have to go through 6 layers of people.
Yes.
And so I don't have that kind of time. I have a full-time job. My kids my second son is getting ready to graduate. We're teaching him how to drive, so I'm doing this every single night, plus all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so, the last 2 weeks, it's come to Thursday or Friday, and I've had one guest, maybe two,
It's time-consuming.
And so, everybody, thank you so much. I mean, I sent out the call yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon, and I said, I have one guest. And everybody was like, well, I'll come and talk about this, and I'll come and talk about that, and I'll come talk. I'm like, thank you, because, I like to have lots of guests on. I mean, there's tons of things going on. The legislature's really busy.
So
it's
many.
End of the session.
Yeah.
We have all these presidential candidates in state every week. There's things going on in D.C. There's things going on in Concord.
Yeah.
And, we've got the 603 Alliance stuff going on. And it just sort of, it's not like I'm stressed or too busy. I'm just, I just manage it, and I have to let some things slide once in a while.
It's only so many hours.
With the hope that by Friday, when I don't have any guests, everybody will go, I'll come help. And this is a tough weekend. It's a Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people are traveling, going to picnics and celebrations and parades and things that will be coming up. So,
hey, you know what? On that topic, I think it's kind of interesting that when we've been I've been going through a lot of social media sites, and I've been seeing a lot of disgruntled tweets and postings about the fact that people are handling Memorial Day like Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand the difference between those two.
We got a couple minutes. Explain it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm hardly the expert.
You don't have to be an expert. You just have to have a little knowledge and Google.
Well, I guess so. I was a little schooled in this myself, right? Because on Memorial Day, my family and we go around to the graves of our family, right? We'll go see my dad's grave, who was a World War II vet, but we sort of go to everybody that's passed in our family if we can get to the graves, right? But people were really upset on the media because they assumed that Veterans Day, which is a celebration of those with us that have supported and served this country, is the same thing as Memorial Day, which is actually to remember, a thoughtful, I don't want to say prayerful, because some people don't pray, but a thoughtful thank you time for those that have served in the country. And sometimes I see the vets that are posting are quite upset that the party time atmosphere of Memorial Day is actually not what it was intended to be. And I thought that was interesting because all my life I've been sort of putting the two together myself.
Mm-hmm.
What they're supposed to be. So.
Okay.
Well,
I think we've got the camera aimed right. We've got the top of the granite grok sign in. We've got Jane in the right-hand side of the picture with Steve's head and headphones, and most of me in the other side of the picture.
Hey, you're
that's
cooking.
not bad. Only took us an extra half hour to get that all worked out.
Hey, that's all right.
That's
Better
how
late
we
than
do
never.
things around here.
That's how we roll when the apprentices are in charge.
That's right. That's right.
Because Skip's not here. Actually, Steve's the expert on the board. He now runs 3 boards and somehow makes everything happen.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I don't want a 4th. I think the 3 is good.
Yeah.
I didn't want the 3, to be honest with you, but I didn't really have a lot of choice. So we do have all these things. We're expecting Ed. Who knows? At this point, Kimberly just IM'd me and said that while she did not oversleep, she did go back to sleep, and now I don't know that she'll be here. But
that's okay. We can talk.
We can talk and talk and
we
talk.
We can
and
also
talk.
dial her up when we don't have anybody else on the show.
We can, and who knows? We might just do that. It's always a possibility.
Can I bring up something that's not life related?
Yeah, we got about a minute and a half. Sure.
Please, let's do, because I saw a fabulous article written by Charles Arlinghouse, I should say. And he's from the Josiah Bartlett. And I decided to write an article for Where's Times next week based on the information in his article, which was fabulous, because it talked about the fact that New Hampshire, unfortunately, has hit the bottom with regard to the 10 worst states that, for their financial and economic outlooks. And his article was fabulous. It's in the Union Leader. I guess if you go to the Union Leader and you kind of Google his latest, which was this week, you should read it because it's very well done. I'm in awe of him because he can take really, and I love this skill because it's helpful for folks that are up to their eyebrows and don't have much time, take a fairly complex topic and put it in a way that has short bites that you can digest. But very sad. Do you know that we are 48th in this country for business taxes?
Oh, I do. I just wrote about this on watchdog.org.
You did?
I did.
I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Which is why
I haven't posted it anywhere else yet.
All this excitement over trains for New Hampshire, we've already got a giant sucking sound by the southern border. The Massachusetts folks come in here and ruin our politics, and somehow they manage to make our tax environment, in spite of the lack of an income tax, so unprepossessing that the businesses all locate south of the border anyway.
Okay, we're heading up on the break here. It is important to note that we are still in the top 10 for the lowest overall tax burden. However,
that's going to change.
That is going to change because it has to. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break. Hopefully Ed's in the next room or somewhere nearby, or you'll just have to listen to us. But we're going to talk about Carl Gibson, who was arrested for vote suppression. And there's Ed, right on cue. We'll be right back.
Just as we talk about vote suppression.
None of this stuff works, but Ed's here. We'll be right back.
When asked asked whether she still supports Obamacare, Senator Jeanne Shaheen said,
"Yes, I do continue to support the law. We're beginning to see some positive results."
How can Senator Shaheen say we're seeing positive results when 22,000 of our neighbors have already lost their health insurance? What's worse, the Boston Globe reports the state's only health insurance provider radically reduced the number of hospitals in their network, forcing some people to drive over an hour for lab work, even when there's a hospital within a few miles of their home. When pressed about lack of access, Shaheen said,
"There are some hospitals that are not covered, unfortunately, and I certainly hope that's going to change."
Jeanne Shaheen promised us we could keep our doctors and our healthcare coverage. Now she hopes we can get to a local hospital? Call Senator Shaheen at 603-647-7500. Tell her we need more than hope. We need leadership. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. You're listening to GrokTALK.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
GrokTALk.
Welcome to GrokTALK, where the equipment almost always works. Brought to you by GraniteGrok.com and the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers here in lovely Concord, New Hampshire. Remember to check us out on Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Did I say iTunes? Boy, I can't remember.
You did, yes.
Okay, well,
so
Stitcher.
Stitcher, Spreaker, and all the things that sound.
Let's just
like.
check Mike, Ed, Mike check.
Mike check.
Mike check. Okay,
check,
Mike.
check.
Now let's check with Mike.
Check
Go
Mike,
ahead.
Mike. Yeah. So, Steve, you're actually a technical guy. You work with a company that assembles and ships computers.
My term is engineering support. Yes.
Yeah. Computing type devices of one sort or another. So you're probably aware that the reliability of the whole is a product of the reliability of the parts. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if something is 99.999% reliable, and you put 5 or 6 of them in a chain, you're now down to 99%. Mm-hmm. All of the .999s having disappeared in the multiplication.
That's correct.
And here we are with more and more pieces chained together, and it's not surprising that this reliable equipment occasionally causes us to have a little malfunction.
You know, interestingly enough, another unreliable piece of equipment known as the New Hampshire Attorney General's office recently attempted to begin doing something the right way, and that's part of the reason why Ed's here. I've been talking to people. Everybody on Facebook's excited that Carl Gibson got arrested, but I said they just arrested him. They didn't prosecute him yet.
No, he says he's been asked to turn himself in, and he'll be arraigned on June 22nd. I'll probably be there.
I would think so.
Yeah,
Well, that was a federal charge, though, right?
No, it's a state.
It's a state.
Oh, is it a state?
It wasn't a state. It wasn't a federal
Yeah,
election.
you know what the RSA is?
No.
666.
No!
Yes, it is. That's funny.
He's going to plead the devil made him do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Or Budweiser.
He's already said the booze made him do
Yeah,
it.
that's a bull-faced lie. This guy's a professional. He's been doing this all over the country.
Yeah.
Oh,
He got caught here.
I'm so glad he got caught.
I think the
Well,
AG's office.
he's obviously saying that this bud doesn't make you wiser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can only hope it sticks.
Yeah, we'll see. I find it hard to believe the AG's office has thrown a Democrat under the bus like this. So I will not believe it till I actually see them prosecute. I watched the Attorney General's office throw the Supreme Court case regarding residence and domicile, and agree that residence means domicile means residence, and I watched that.
Well, there's been a number of cases where they've announced that they've arrested somebody for double voting, but then you never hear about it again.
Well, they failed to arrest the police chief in New London for having young ladies, the co-eds, take their top off. They could photograph them rather than get a speeding ticket. They couldn't find that was a crime.
Yeah, he's been a cop for 25 years. He's been a chief for any number of years, and this is the first time he ever did it.
Back when Kelly Ayotte was the Attorney General, we had some police officers shoot each other in a bank that was under construction at 3 o'clock in the morning when they were in there practicing with loaded weapons. No, there was no problem with that. We've had many police officers that have absolutely, positively done criminal acts if the AG's office has tried to get them off.
There's a case this week with some Seabrook police officers.
It never ends. So I doubt very much whether they're going to be aggressive in prosecuting this guy, but that's okay because I'm very aggressive in looking into the other states.
And it gets a lot of press, and it gives us a lot of opportunity to put his name out in Google with words like vote suppressor, vote thief, vote fraud.
Liberal, socialist, Democrat activist.
Correct.
Double voter, double registered Connecticut. He's registered in Connecticut.
Another place, too.
He's registered in...
Didn't you find he was registered in 3 places?
He's registered in Connecticut. He's registered in Wisconsin. He's registered over here on Summit Street, 26 Summit Street in Concord. Now, the problem with him is if he's really prosecuted and there was an investigation, we'd know where he actually lives. So he has an apartment in a commune on 244 West Lake Road in Madison, Wisconsin. It
really is a commune.
It's a commune. It's a 35-unit communal living situation for activists, for gay rights activists.
Really?
And hard left Communist Party members, socialist revolutionaries, all live in this commune. They share bicycles and food.
And after a few years, they'll condemn the building.
Well, when you look at it, I looked up the registered voters from that area. It's like hundreds of people have been through there, so they're not there very long. But he pays between $350 and $400 a month rent, and that makes him liable for Wisconsin income tax, depending on who pays him. So we have an opportunity to find out who pays him. How did he get here? Did SEIU pay him? Did MoveOn.org pay him? He's an independent journalist. Who pays you for that?
Goodness.
We've all written things for different... he also worked for Mississippi Public Radio. He's been interviewed on CNN and MSNBC. So when the Concord Monitor here in town says they don't know who he is and it's just a prank, they know who he is. Ray Buckley knows who he is. If he works for SEIU, that's where Ray Buckley's pet monkey went.
Yeah, Mike Burrell.
He went to SEIU, and now he works for the governor of Pennsylvania, trying to unionize the hospitals, which the SEIU has always tried to do in Pennsylvania.
I mean, you remember, these guys are collectivists.
They know each other.
They admit that they vote in a block, that they think the same way. They know who these people are.
Here's how Carl Robert Homer Gibson is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, wait, I got something for you when you called him Homer. Hold on, where is it? No! There we go.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're going to determine what his residence is. Let's say he was actually convicted. He could spend 7 years in jail. Then we'd know where his real residence is. He might have a domicile somewhere else, but his residence would be in jail.
And at that point, all of his voter registrations could be canceled.
No, they exist unless he cancels them or someone cancels them. They don't automatically
get even if he's convicted of a felony, they're not going to go
when you're in jail in New Hampshire, you have to vote where you were arrested or your previous location. You're not allowed to vote in the town where you're under arrest. So if you're in jail in Pembroke, you can't vote there. College students go to college in Hanover; they're allowed to vote there. But if you're in jail, that's how this works. But here's the fun part about Carl Robert Homer Gibson. Oh. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
He is.
I just go through and I punch in his name and the stories he's written about and the arrests. I just got a list of 84 people who were arrested in Vermont at an event he was at and wrote about. So I get down the list of names. Gee, I wonder how many of those arrested people are from New Hampshire. Bingo, I have one. And she has a phony name in New Hampshire, but her real first name in Illinois, where she's registered to vote, is Davina. So, Davina, if you're out there listening, I'm coming for you.
What? I don't understand. So they were arrested in Vermont for what?
Protesting. You know, told to leave a public area, and
Okay.
they didn't, so they were arrested. May the cycle be unbroken, you know. These are old 70s, 1970s anti-war
And it's
protesters.
still out there?
Well, no.
Oh.
They were arrested recently.
Okay.
These are old-time,
Still doing their
hardcore
thing.
left. Yeah, I mean, they're ponytails, and they're wearing sandals, and the lady have hairier legs than the men. So they're out there getting arrested.
Yeah.
And they have these phony, funny names. This one is, her last name is one of the names in The Hobbit.
Oh.
Now, the communal living situation where Carl Homer lives in Wisconsin, they have a hobbit named Council. What's the people there, the ones with the bows?
Oh, the elves?
The elves. They have an elven council
Yes,
that
they do.
controls what
How
they
freaking
eat.
crazy is that?
They're living in an
I'm so
alternative
sorry.
universe, and people are paying for this.
Yeah.
So he gets a check somewhere. We're going to find out who pays him. But they get a check to live in this fancy world where they go from city to city, fighting the man and corporate greed, and they're just people that never grew up. So I have a list of them. I have 83 more names to go through and see if they're registered in New Hampshire and how many of these are phony names. Because we're starting to find the phony names now. Like there's 2 in Dover. People that registered to vote, voted. There are no people named these 2 names in America, but they voted in Dover, and then within a week, their name is off the checklist. So
How does that happen?
leaves
How do they
us-
get it off
Well,
the
they have help
checklist?
from the people in Dover.
No.
Well, somebody had to take their name off, because if they didn't exist, somebody somewhere somehow took their name off. So we have that to look
God.
at. So I'm going to be...
How do you sleep at night?
I don't
I'm
sleep at
telling you.
night.
I mean, that
doesn't
is the
sleep.
corruption is
Steve,
like
you've
up
seen
to
it.
our
He doesn't
nose.
sleep.
Yeah, you know, Ed.
He watches Red Eye regularly
Yeah,
at
that's
its
right.
at its original air time.
I'm there 2 hours before Red Eye.
No,
so
but
that's when I'm
seriously,
there. It's going.
if you're seeing this filth happen at this level all over the place, how do you live with that? I
Bother me.
have. Oh my gosh!
Well,
Truly,
more
it bothers me.
More to the point, how do they live with it? How do they sleep at night?
They have no conscience.
No,
well,
I know.
Obviously not.
They're all
The-
sociopaths.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes
But
down
doesn't
to.
it seem
The
hopeless?
little guy on this shoulder said, "Do it, do it, do it."
They don't have
It's
little
loud
guys.
and clear, and the guy on the shoulder says, "I don't think you should."
They don't have that.
God,
they
they're
don't have
swatted
Yeah,
long since.
they don't have that. But I'm saying on the outside, right? In the world that you're negotiating here, and then you're looking at, and you're finding
I've
out
been
where
at
it
this
is.
for 30 years. Nothing surprises me.
I just don't know
So
how
I
you
just
could do it.
I see it as an opportunity. You know, like we have never damaged the AG's office like we have in the last 3 or 4 years. When we caught the Assistant Attorney General Mike Brown let Melissa Shohat vote from his house, well,
That
he's
was-
not prosecuting this case, is he?
No, he's not.
How would he be able to do that? Say, oh, is Melissa going to come testify against him? Maybe she ran into him in her little
What
circle of
is it
friends.
with the AGs? Why can't we get a good
AG
one?
works for the Democrat Party in the state of New Hampshire. That's just the way that
And
it
they
is.
have
Even
for
if
a
there's a
long
governor,
time.
let's say a Republican
we had
group?
an AG that was Kelly Ayotte at one time. That didn't help us. So, in fact, she prosecuted Gene Chandler
Oh,
for
the
having
corn
a
roast,
corn
yeah.
roast, but not Ruth Griffin for taking cash from lobbyists. So, I'm familiar with how it works. I understand it. I accept it, but I don't spend my time worrying about it. I spend my time document it,
Yeah.
track it, understand it. And when I see this as a gift, when this guy gets arrested, he has to say his real name. He has to give a driver's license. That just leads me. We caught him by his phone number. I got a phone number from the Connecticut registration. Now, he registered to vote in Connecticut, but he didn't vote. But it left me a phone number out of Mississippi, and that's how we tracked him down.
Oh, my God.
So Mississippi led us to Connecticut, Texas, and Kentucky, and
People are just...
Illinois,
Wisconsin.
and Wisconsin. Yeah, I already had Wisconsin.
They're all fake lives. I mean, they're
well,
all
they're
fake.
activists is what they do.
Yeah.
They're gypsies. They rove around. I mean, all of these professionals.
I had no
You know,
idea.
I don't know. Does Carl fit the profile? Did he
Yeah.
have a special gift in high school, and he got a degree from a special school?
Well, he
and
went to Moorhead in
Okay.
Kentucky, and he took journalism and social. He took the same stuff they all do.
Yeah, they all
Social
fit the
justice.
profile.
They
They
care
all-
about animals. They
Yeah.
care about welfare. They care. You know, it's a bunch of nonsense.
And then they immediately don't have a real job. They immediately
he-
go into government, or they intern for a Democrat, or they get
Well, how do
tied
they
to a
live?
nonprofit.
people
They get
listen.
paid.
People listen to them.
There's tons. You know, we talk about all the money in politics. It's all in these
Where do
NGOs.
you think
It's
it
all in
goes?
these nonprofits. The Democrats pour billions of dollars into these organizations, and they pay these kids to go around the country and screw stuff up for the rest of us.
And then, you know, as non-government activist organizations, they somehow manage to get themselves on the government gravy train like Acorn did for helping people find housing and so on and so forth. But that's never what their main job is. Their main job is always corrupting the country. And
that's their goal.
Their job is to organize and to grow the group. Yeah. That's their goal.
Yeah.
Organize.
What's he brag about? I organize thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's what he brags about constantly.
Because that gets him, that's on his resume, that gets him the next best job.
So what are we doing to combat this?
Well,
here we are.
I know, but do we have groups like that will do the same thing?
Well, I can think of one, has an acronym, CNHT.
Yeah.
Might be a shocker to you, but I've been at this for 15 years.
But
right.
we don't organize mobile troops.
That's what I mean.
Groups like Americans for Prosperity and organizations like that, they have local ground troops that they organize. Those are the people that are part of the Coctopus.
Our people don't do this stuff.
Yeah,
maybe we should.
No. Our people do, when they're at their best, get out the real voters to counter the cheaters,
which happened in the Devon Bailey election.
Yeah, it happened in 2010. It happened to some extent in 2014, but not for the liberal light candidates, unfortunately. It did, however, happen for some of the more genuine folks who are running for the House, etc. So without a doubt, we can win. So let me just sort of. Couple of anecdotal pieces. So as part of the steering committee for the 603 Alliance that is attempting to push the primary of the presidential race initially into a more conservative direction, one of the sort of fairly hostile questions we get is, with all this cheating, what are you going to do about it? And really the answer is, we're going to get as many votes as we can behind a good person,
right, in
the hope of overcoming the cheating. And I'll refer to one of my favorite anecdotal statements by Hugh Hewitt, who said, if it ain't close, they can't cheat. And he actually had a book by that title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
So it's essentially, the right thing for us to do, unless it gets flipped to the point where there are simply a majority of illegal voters and we can't ever win, is to get out more of our people than they do, is to disillusion and dispirit their regular voters so their cheaters can't knock it over the edge.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take a really quick break, and we're going to pick this back up on the other side. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Things are working normally.
This is the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you